Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to present to you a very, very rare General Electric boombox. This is the 3-6045A from 1983. And let me back up a little bit here. Back when I was doing a video on the 3-6025A, another in electronic tuning system series, I have the instruction manual for the 3-6035A, which is this guy right here. Now, it did include a separate booklet to explain to you how to use and do programming and timer recording with the digital tuning system. And it covered 4 different models. It covered the Mono 3-6015A, which actually is on eBay right now, but the problem is it's missing cosmetic parts, including the battery cover. And no, I'm going to try to have a complete unit because it's so rare. There was one prior to that, around the time I was recording the video for this one, and that one went for $115, and I instead bought 3-5268A instead, which in my opinion was a much better choice. The point I'm trying to get at is I was recording this, and you know, there's what it looks like on the 15, the 2.5 and 3.5. And then I commented on the 45. Let me insert that clip here. But the rarest one of them all is my dream box I hope to obtain someday, the 3-6045. The only picture online is an incredibly blurry image someone posted on Wiki Boombox. It's very blue. So this video on the 25 was published on September 25th, 2023, a Monday. 2 days later, on September 27th, this one showed up on eBay. If I buy it now. Well, we bought it now. I was all excited about it. So I get this package, and I open it up to be highly, highly disappointed. The moronic seller failed to package it in anything but loose newspaper. So you know what happened. So this panel here was completely missing. The box was completely sealed shut, but it was somehow completely missing. The problem is the glue lets go. I mean, this piece here was missing. I knew that, but as rare as it is, I didn't care. But to have this missing, no. And not only that, this piece in the middle was cracked in the corner. And this top piece was fine, I think, but I think it fell off. I think both of these fell off in the packaging. There are some broken pieces I was able to glue back on. And, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is public information. This is the seller. Avoid them, because they suck. And that was a terrible experience. So it left me with a bad taste in my mouth, and I was so disappointed. Well, flash forward into a few months later, a second one of these shows up on eBay somehow. It was cheaper than this one. So we went ahead and bought that one too. And between the two of them, we were able to make a mint complete original one right here. The one, and the thing that's funny is the one that is currently featured on Wiki Boombox for the 3-6045A is my parts unit, the pictures from the eBay auction. Now, one thing I'll point out, it had a lot of blemishes otherwise on it. So here it is, the second one, the parts unit, in the box in my garage, ready to go out to storage. But here's the front panel I borrowed the pieces from. You can see that blemish there, as well as the scratched off lettering right there. So yeah, that's the parts unit. But that said, between two units, I was able to make one good one and be very happy with it. Now, and as rare as this model is, the funny thing is a third one showed up a month later again. Of course, I don't need that one. I made a perfectly good one out of this. And one has not shown up since. It always seems to work that way. The rarest model appears to be the 3-7010 with a CD drive. But I would say this is probably the second rarest model. So yes, this is the 3-6045A from 1983. The next one down being the 3-6035A, which is a beast, as you well know. It has the same exact electronic tuner, same exact LCD display, and kick-ass performance. And you have the mini Boombox with the same exact tuner and LCD display. So what I'm trying to get at is these two guys are related to each other, but being this is a three-piece boombox, it's not quite related to these two, and I'll show why. This guy here is actually more closely related to the 3-5267A, this one right here. Also another rare boombox. And there'll be a video on that after this one. But what is similar between these two? Yes, they're both three-piece. They both call it the transportable music system. But pay attention to some little minor details, such as the record level. Those are the same. These two have the exact same tape transport. These two actually share the same tweeters. The same exact part number, too. And pay attention to the back, particularly the speakers. Look at the cord wrap there and the cord wrap there. Yeah, this guy's from 1982. This one's from 1983. But I will be covering this boombox in the next video. But while it's still here and they're together, let me explain something. The tape transport in this is not just put new belts in it and you're good to go. No, I've never seen this type of tape transport in any other unit, so I'm not familiar with it outside of these two. Because it's a fully featured deck with feather touch controls, music location system, the works, okay? But it has one big problem, and it's age and plastic shrinking. However, the good news is for those of you watching this or you may have this model, I have figured out how to fix it. Although, unfortunately, it took 4 of those tape transports to get it right. Between all 4 of them, I got a working unit. But you don't have to have a part unit. I got it figured out. It just took a bit of experimentation. And I will demonstrate that later in the video, what you have to do. It involves some boring out some of the holes to make where it shrunk, and some tiny dab of super glue to hold it back. It all has to do with the feather touch mechanism. So the first thing we're going to tackle is the tape transport. You're going to find that both the flat belt and the square belt are going to completely turn to goo, and that it is a very messy job. Now this is before the cassette deck mechanism failed. So I got about half dozen plays out of it. This is before I had to do a little modifications to it, which you'll see later in this video. One thing I like to use is straight Simple Green and ultrasonic cleaner. It takes the gooey belt right off, and it smells like Doritos. I'm serious. Here's the incandescent bulb for the LCD display. Has a blue filter on it. I couldn't really find anything equivalent to that, so I put a warm white LED in it with, of course, a resistor. And it should last much far longer, and it is pretty bright, and it slipped right into place where it belonged. There's the LEDs for it, but yeah, it would be period correct too, because a lot of backlit LCDs from that era kind of had that look to it. That LCD actually has a pretty good viewing angle on it. Now, this is where I discovered other things. Capacitors. This had about a dozen bad caps in it overall. But the first thing you always check on caps from this era are the miniature capacitors. That's obviously bad right there. That was on the tuner timer board. But here I go. If I found one, there's going to be more. Even the regular size caps, I found quite a few that were bad. So I went through and replaced them. Now, one of the issues I know when I originally tried it was recording. I had a lot of noise in the one channel, and sure if it was a cap. Those are the original tweeters. One was completely open, one barely worked. But they're the same as the 3-5267. And now on to the part about fixing the tape deck. First thing you gotta do, this is where those metal screws went in. It shrunk, the plastic shrunk around them and cracked. So you gotta slightly drill it out, but not too much. We're gonna take some super glue and put it in where it cracked and clamp it together to remedy this problem. You have to do on all the ones you see there. Now the next step, I already have this together, but out of one of the parts decks, you have to take an 11/64 bit and bore out the center hole on it, because otherwise it's not going to turn. It'll just completely stiffen up when you put that screw back in. And when you put the screw back in, put a teeny tiny dab of super glue on it. Do not put anything extra because it'll screw things up. Just a teeny tiny dab so it doesn't back out again. You have to do it for all the screws and all the push pins like you see in the center of your screen. It's not a screw, but it just pushes down. You have to do that for that too. Each and every one of those you have to bore out the hole on there. And that's mainly the problem. It seems simple, but that took me, this is my third deck right here before I got it perfected. And as you saw right there, I just put a drop of oil on the capstan bearing. And now I'm going to put a drop of oil on the motor upper bearing. Just Zoom spout oil, non-detergent. The bottom bearing is much more difficult to get to, and I only do it if necessary. Newer ones were nylon bearings, but this actually has a metal bearing, and you'll see why, how I knew that in a minute. So there it is with a new belt installed. Now the flat belt has a little post. You put it around before you reassemble it. And I put a drop of grease right there around the thrust bearing plate. Another thing that happens, two of them, the micro switch, the leaf switch that turns the motor power on and off, breaks. So I think that one was still original. That one was fine. And on the 3-5267, I found another one to put in its place. So that's how you put the flat belt on. And another thing I had, this is after I got the parts unit, I changed the front door for the cassette deck over to that one because that one was in better shape. Now this, you take off two screws, and apparently the little post on it broke off, so I had to re-glue that. There's an egg-shaped tape counter belt, so that's not going to be any good. So I cleaned that part out right there. Yeah, don't disturb any of the other push pins or whatever, because those ones are fine. There, I cleaned that off. I noviced it. Now, the back here, I had to rewire that whole thing because it's a long story. I was swapping things around, but I finally got it. Now, the little panels that go on, the glue with age let go, it fell off. I'm using very thin double-sided tape. Do not use glues, and more specifically super glue. I found that out the hard way, but not with this, but with something else, and it eats right through the printing on there. It'll melt it. It has a chemical reaction. So now this is the parts unit that came in, and I noticed something odd. The cassette deck motor wiring was cut when I opened it up. Well, give me a little more juice voltage.
All right.
Not too much more. That sounds horrible. And this is after I put oil in it.
0.06 amps. What is that? 6 milliamps?
600 milliamps. So this is why they cut the wiring to the motor. My theory is that leaf switch failed. That cassette deck motor was running for probably years, and it's probably in a place where they left the unit on all the time, and it got to the point where something catastrophic happened. And you'll see the damage very shortly. Wow.
I'm just going to leave it run like this for a while, see what happens. Hope God's doing something different.
This has been running for 2 hours like this.
So question is, will it restart?
So no, the motor did not restart after that. It was locked up. Yeah, it was bad. Now watch this. I took it apart. First thing you notice is the circuit board in there is charred black. Who knows what happened there? That resistor is burnt. Just wait till you see what happens when I test that capacitor. The whole top of the motor was a solid chunk of rust. So something got incredibly hot, or something happened right there, and it corroded somehow. There's no evidence otherwise. On the outside of that case, it looks normal. No idea what happened. Now, this is the bottom plate. It does have a brass bearing, but look at the plastic on there. It got so hot and melted, it popped out of place because it melted, but also it's super, super brittle. Look at that. And that's where the brushes are attached. I mean, it got incredibly hot. The winding for the motor looked fine, but I don't know. And this is the bottom bearing itself, which appears to be just fine. This is very, very bizarre failure. And the circuit board was completely brittle. It just broke right in half. Now, check this out. 4.7 microfarad. So we start it. 3.68, but greater than 20 ohms ESR. It's completely shot. And now we're on to the next part I need to fix. The power switches on these are all going to fail. I think it was undersized for the load on the unit. The first one I got failed. Like, I couldn't get it to turn on. I really had to push it, and then I heard a bunch of arcing inside. The parts unit was just about the same, just worse off. Now, what you see here, that switch there is, I got it off eBay. It is an Alps power switch for a computer monitor, an old CRT monitor. But it has the same exact piece that will fit the cosmetic buttons that push onto it. So that means I had to slightly modify the little bracket there to make this work. So yeah, it's a little messy. I had to cut it and use the Dremel tool to, sand it down, get rid of the burrs on there. So I cleaned it very carefully, make sure there's no, metal pieces on anything. And the only way I could hold it in place is I very carefully lined it up and JB welded it in place. But that switch there is heavy duty. It has a real nice thunk when you push it, so it should not have any problems from here on out. That's when I freshly applied it. Now here it is after it cured. I soldered on 2 wires to go down to the circuit board for power. All right. So here's the one the unit came with right here. And you see it has plenty of movement, a lot of movement on this. Both of these are excellent, excellent shape. But yeah, like I said, I'm just swapping the front panel because the one that came with that either has a dent in it or isn't perfect. Trying to make one good one out of 2 units. So yeah. All right, it has been reassembled. This part is nice and complete now. It needs cleaned off. That's like tape residue there. We're gonna do that next. But the front is what came off the one I had. Finally, it's almost back together. I just want to take a moment to appreciate this thing. This entire bottom board is just for the tape deck. And not just that, but most of this subboard, this subboard, that's all for the tape deck. This thing has more stuff on it and a lot of standalone things. It's a very good tape deck. And this thing here is, despite our little issue initially, and once you fix it, you'll appreciate how overbuilt this thing is. I mean, look at the mechanism to actuate the record play switch. It's all metal, it's hinged, heavy spring. I mean, this thing here rotates like that, and you can see what it does. See, look at that. Look how intricate this thing is. It's very, very nice. So, come up here. This thing's actually pretty heavy by itself. This entire top board is your tuner, preamp, and amp. This being your amplifier, obviously, if a big heat sink. And this whole front piece here is just for the electronic tuner portion. So sparse it ain't, unlike the GPX. Even though the GPX sounds pretty good for what it is, though. But yeah, this thing, definitely not sparse in one bit. I still have to clean off the front again because I got little fingerprint smudgies all over it. But finally, it's looking complete and good. And now, my freshly put on power switch. And it's definitely a lot more solid ka-thunk in than the other one. So we shouldn't have that problem anymore. Loudness, AM, FM, volume slider here. All right, I'm at the stage now. I haven't done anything with the tape deck yet, as in I need to clean it. I mean, I clean the heads, but I need to properly clean the pinch roller, just the tape speed, and that should be it. And then I can finally button this thing up and enjoy it, because I've wanted this model. I mean, I've only been doing this for a little over 2 years now, but this model fascinated me. I mean, it's top of the line at 12 watts per channel, actual watts. I don't know, like I said, how they rate modern things, because this thing will destroy it, but very loud. And the nice thing, parts unit, I was missing a rubber bumper. Right here, this is the one I just finished. So I just pulled it off. It's a little plug, and I'll put a dab of super glue on it and shove it in there, and then that'll be complete. Now, one thing I did notice I've forgotten about. Unfortunately, the parts unit is a bit more beat up in other ways. I don't think that's battery leakage. I think something got spilled on this, like all over it. It's pretty nasty. There's a chip right there. But hey, it's parts. I mean, but the thing is, like I said, this is all scratched up right here. But feline noises. What are you playing with? This is fine, but on this one, it has that number engraved in it. So it's just the trade-off. This one's still in better condition in the back panel. And what I mean is, flip this one. Oh, yeah, this thing's heavy. Look how perfect this panel is. It's aluminum versus this one. This one's all scratched up. But the thing is, I got, I got 2 antennas. I'm not sure they're long enough for the other units I need, but yeah, all coming together. All right, just got done noticing everything again. It's very shiny now. Clock is, everything's run off 2 AA batteries. Metal tabs here. That's how the speakers hang on the bottom. They slip in. Well, there's a little effort there. Then you pull it out and they hook on. Okay, speakers are installed. And the last thing I wanted to do, this is the unit I'm trying to finish up. It had a very gouged up antenna, the outermost antenna, but the parts unit was in excellent condition, so I swapped it over too. Now both antennas are perfect. And the last thing I did was I swapped battery covers because the one it came with was all gouged up. The parts unit was perfect. But first, let's start off with the speakers. These are 5 1/4 inch, so they are large. You have a pretty beefy surround, and they're rated for 15 watts. The amplifier in this is 12 watts per channel, and those are real watts and not this made up crap. But this thing is very loud and hi-fi. The tweeter is a 1.5 inch tweeter, and it's the same as the 3-5267A. It kind of has a little 80s, squares background in here. And the tweeters are in a horn configuration. But on the sides, you have 2 rectangular bass ports right next to the tweeter. So the speakers are sealed except for the bass ports. Right speaker obviously is the same. So we'll start with the top. It does say lighted dial, obviously. Same LCD display. Now we'll say this. The original unit used an incandescent lamp, which I'm assuming pretty much on every one of these is just going to be burned out. Because when it's plugged in, that light is on. You have power LED, FM stereo, your tuning controls. For 83, this was top of the line. But I mean, you have your tuning controls, 10 station memory presets, 5 for AM, 5 for FM. Unlike the other 2 ETS systems, this has a 1-hour sleep timer. It has a separate timer switch, your memory station store button, and a big long button to cycle through your display here. So that's the radio tuner timer section. Second row, you get a 1/4 inch headphone jack, bass, treble, and balance controls. You got power, your loudness contour, FM stereo and mono switch, and a very nice stereo accent switch. Function selector, AM FM tape, magnetic phono, and auxiliary. Has a nice slider volume control. Transportable music system. And then you come down here, the tape deck. I call, the theme of this unit is blue and buttons and switches. It's filled with them. I mean, not only is this blue, but the tape door is tinted blue. See? And then that's blue in there. But as you can see, it has feather touch controls, metal tape type support, Dolby system, music location system 3, so 3 songs you can do at a time. Then you have your Dolby, automatic level control, when it actually meant something to have listed on the unit, your normal chrome and metal tape selection, and a multi-function meter. You could have tuner or battery when it's pushed in, or audio level when it's out. and electronic meter system right here. Tuning battery. Your Dolby light, record light, tape counter reset. Have your microphone left and right, remote jack, and your manual record level controls. So now it does not have built-in microphones, so you have to plug in external mics to this if you want to use it. But this is why I'm fascinated by these, because it performs so well. It could pretty much be a kick-ass bookshelf system, or you could connect the speakers to it and have a kick-ass boombox at the same time. So yes, the whole front of the unit is nothing but buttons and knobs and switches. Coming around to the back, it has max input 12 watts, impedance 4 ohms. It does have 2 antennas. It has more switches on the back, such as your radio sensitivity, distance or local. And then over here, your tuning system, Europe or USA. And a 3-position bias oscillator, your beat cut switch. Speaker terminals are RCA type, phono inputs, auxiliary, magnetic phono with phono ground, AM antenna, and FM antenna terminals. Has a DC car jack. That's what that was originally for. Your AC input, and it can run on 120 or 220 volts. And here is the battery compartment. It takes 8 D batteries. And a date code, 22nd week of 1983. Has AC cord storage. And one more cool thing, this is original to the unit. Someone didn't just buy it and stick it in there, because the other one, the 3-5267, has the exact same adapter. Okay, so now I'm switched to another microphone. And let's turn this thing on. Nice solid ka-thunk now with that new heavy-duty power switch. The meter is in VU meter mode. I like how they separated out the to 2 separate dots for each dB reading right there. We'll do FM with the local distance switch in the distant mode. I'm not going to mess with the antennas, but I have the antennas like this. And we'll just start from one end of the scale to the other and see what it all can pick up. That was a weak station. And now, I mean, you can, if you just step through, press it like this one at a time, it'll go through in 2.2 megahertz steps like this. But if you press and hold, it does a scan. So we're going to do that. I'm going to turn the volume up. I have this in battery and tuning mode, so we can see. It's stopping at even the weakest stations.
Staff morale.
On distant mode.
APR editor John Selby.
I can hear something, so it's working very well. I'm very impressed with this tuner so far.
Having trouble? Don't panic. Don't
trade off something that you have for.
I could barely hear something right there.
Sheet smelling fresher than. Got you on my mind. These airmen sense are all high quality.
Spats and Solutions.
Middleman, providing a higher quality product.
Country. Yeah, this station's always noisy.
Complete your next project. Our goal is to see.
It's stopping at even the weakest stations. That's pretty cool.
Coupe sedans and SUVs.
Still gotta make a decision.
So yeah, this has a very impressive digital tuner on this thing. So now what about the detachable speakers on this? You lift the handle up until that lines up with speaker release. It locks into place right there. And I'm gonna need 2 hands for this, so just give me a second.
Everything. That's why I want you to talk to me.
Really hear that?
To hear you say
bass
my
in here.
name. I'd do anything.
It's a weak station, so here's the mono
Think
switch pushed in.
twice before you answer. Think twice.
When there's nothing but a slow glowing breeze.
So now we'll demonstrate a cassette I recorded on this unit with manual level control. And this is a Dolby B tape that's a Chrome tape. And here we go. So that's cassette operation with the stereo accent in and out. We can try music location system. Let's do 3. I realize these are from other games, but judging by the sequence of them, what game of VRChat we were playing, please comment below. But yeah, music location system works perfectly. And let's see, we have pause. And it's not just like, there's actually a cam gear in there as well that lifts up on it too. So again, completely feather touch. And you can also, while it's in pause, hit rewind or fast forward, and it'll stop and stay at that song. And it's also perfect for locating it for recording purposes too. All right. But yeah, as you saw, here comes auto stop. But yeah, as you saw, the tape deck board is this entire length of this and all the way back. That's more than a lot of standalone decks. You know, this thing is packed. I mean, this tape deck, this was top of the line for 83. That's probably why it's also so rare. It's probably very, very expensive. Let's try cassette record operation. Okay, record operation off the radio. Let's try that. Set that. It's a normal bias tape. We'll try with manual level control first. First, we gotta find like a commercial or something where the copyright police won't get us. So.
Getting close to closing out my shift here. Frank with you on a Sunday evening. Almost time for Little Steven's Underground Garage. He's got a cool theme running through the show, as he always does. He's got your Freak of the Week. The coolest song in the world this week. From the rock and roll capital of the world. From whatever town that awesome band may be from. So stick around for that. You're going to hear bands like the Rolling Stones and the Kinks. Older Beatles. The Shirelles. Cool stuff like that. And also cool bands that you might hear today you can go see, actually. Like the Flamin' Groovies, the Dictators, the Flesh Tones. Maybe the Chesterfield Kings, the Dolly Rots. Who are those bands? Well, you got to tune in, man. Then you're going to dig their music, and like I did, buy some of that music. Now it's in my collection. So check it out. Little Steven's Underground Garage is next. You want to get a hold of me during the week, and why not? Guy Overnight on Twitter, same thing, Instagram, Frank Sinrich on, what is it? Facebook. Right on. Hey to Dorian checking in. All of you that hit me on Twitter, thanks. It's been an awesome evening. I'll talk to you next Saturday here on 102.5. Stay cool the best you can and have a great week. DVE.
Coming soon to DVE.
All right, hit that horn, babe. Let's dance.
The 2024 edition of your Pittsburgh Steelers. Training camp is almost here. Listen for the best team coverage on your Steelers flagship.
Smells like football, doesn't it, baby?
102.5 DVE.
Hey, it's Bill Crawford for Window Nation. It is hotter than it's ever been out there.
Yeah, no
and cooling
kidding.
your house is more expensive than ever. So your old, inefficient windows, yeah, those are officially a problem. They're costing you hundreds of dollars a year in energy bills. But don't worry, Window Nation is here to help. You buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years.
So yeah, there's that with automatic level control off and on. As you can see, automatic level control is precisely adjusted for 0 dB recording. And manual level, I was just adjusting it for 0 dB recording, but obviously it's not going to attenuate or add gain to it automatically. That way it stays consistent, perfect for music recording, which is what this machine is really for. But automatic level control, I could see it being used for live remote recording. Again, this is a fantastic tape deck, a kick-ass tape deck. I mean, it works very well. So, let's see how we turned out. We'll go to tape. I set the tape counter, so go to 0, 0, 0. All right, and let's see what we did.
3WS.
Whatever town that awesome band may be from. So stick around for that. You're going to hear bands like the Rolling Stones and the Kinks. Older Beatles.
See where I
The
adjusted
Shirelles.
the record level?
Cool stuff like that. And also cool bands that you might hear today you can go see, actually, like the Flamin' Groovies, the Dictators, the Flesh Tones, maybe the Chesterfield Kings, the Dolly Rots. Who are those bands? Well, you got to tune in, man. Then you're going to dig their music, and like I did, buy some of that music. Now it's in my collection. So check it out. Little Steven's Underground Garage is next. You want to get a hold of me during the week, and why not? Guy Overnight on Twitter, same thing, Instagram, Frank Sindrich on, what is it? Facebook. Right on. Hey to Dorian checking in. All of you that hit me on Twitter, thanks. It's been an awesome evening. I'll talk to you next Saturday here on 102.5. Stay cool the best you can and have a great week. DVE.
Coming soon to DVE.
Hit that horn, babe. Let's dance.
The 2024 edition of your Pittsburgh Steelers. Training camp is almost here. Listen for the best team coverage.
For Window Nation, it is hotter than it's ever been out there, and cooling your house is more expensive than ever. So your old, inefficient windows, yeah, those are officially a problem. They're costing you hundreds of dollars a year in energy bills. But don't worry, Window Nation is here to help. You buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows free.
So there's that. That's just the normal bias tape. Absolutely perfect. I mean, just, man, if normal bias sounds this good and you go up tape, I mean, wow. I mean, this is why I'm fascinated by this. Okay. So now we're going to try some timer recording with this thing. I mean, yeah, you could timer record, timer playback, timer with the radio, timer of any of the inputs. I'm just going to do like timer recording because that is just so cool. So I'm going to do this. So clock on time. Hit stop. And let's see. Do 9:42. Then you hit this again. So there's on time, off time. Hit that, turn it on. So you hit that, it turns it off and on. So you don't have to clear it out. And we'll do 9:43. Whoops, went too far. Okay, we'll leave it on. Hit this. All right. 9:41. Okay, let's do this. We gotta hit timer. I gotta turn this off. Hit record. And now let's see what happens. This is actually my first time doing it with timer recording, so this should be interesting. For me anyways. As you can see, it even has a little red LED that lights up when you have it in timer record mode. Just like, hey, just make sure it's on the right station you want.
7000. That's 1-800-233-7000.
This is my first time seeing it operate with the timer.
Our neighbors by offering the best value on new Ford models. Returning Ford lessees or Jeep owners can lease a Bronco Sport for $295 a month for 24 months. Nobody beats a Kenny Ross deal. Visit Kenny Ross Ford South or KennyRossFordSouth.com. 844-255-2476 for details.
Check your mailbox this August for a brand new savings experience. Clipper Magazine is becoming Clip, an even easier way to save across Pittsburgh at the local shops and restaurants you love. What's even better? Join today to save an extra 25% off your first purchase. Go to clip.com to start saving now. And you get rewarded for supporting businesses in our community. That's clipp.com. Clip it and save.
Live from the Don's Appliances Studios, where Pittsburgh shops for appliances.
That's where we bought our
This
Speed
is
Queen pair from.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, it stopped it just in time, so the copyright police couldn't get to me. So as you can see, the timer started and stopped the unit. Now, since the timer record is on right here, it's going to continuously do that every day at those times. So, example, if you just only want to turn one of the timers off, and you see how it says on time, we'll hit this, it'll flash. Hit the middle one, it clears it, but it's still in memory though. So let's just say you hit that, now it's not on, but you go to the next one, it's on too. it turns off both. But if you want to start it up again, well, you just hit this, hit that, and it recalls it. And then yeah, I guess it can't. This is new for me too. I guess when you do one, it cancels them both. But yeah, you can have it do on time or off time separately too. You don't have to do that. But I'm gonna turn them both off because I'm not going to use them actually. So yeah, clock, on time, off time, and clock. This is with the power off. I mean, I know the timer light is in, but it can turn timer off just by pressing that button there. Sleep timer is just for 1 hour, and you can't change the time on it, so it's just 60 minutes. So watch this. Yeah, I'll just say sleep on the LCD display. The other two radios with the same displays, it's the same identical LCD display, but sleep is not utilized on those units. And I think if you just hit sleep again, it'll cancel it. Yep, it cancels it. Okay, so that's timer recording with the unit. Sleep timer. So that concludes this video on the very rare 3-6045A from 1983. And like I said, up next we'll cover the 3-5267A, which is very closely related to this box here. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.